Now for this pattern, you will need 42 10-inch squares, which will yield you a 48-inch by 56-inch throw size quilt. So let's get started. With each 10-inch square, you will subcut them into two 3.5-inch by 8.5-inch rectangles and four 2.5-inch squares. Once everything is cut, you will place your 2.5-inch squares in the middle of your rectangles and mix up your prints while keeping your rectangles the same print. Now all we have to do is sew everything back together again. First, you will place all four 2.5-inch rectangles in a column and sew them together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance, leaving you with a 2.5-inch by 8.5-inch rectangle. Then lastly, you will sew the 3.5-inch by 8.5-inch rectangles to both the left and right side of your unit to complete an 8.5-inch square. Now all you have to do is repeat this step until you have made a total of 42 8.5-inch quilt blocks. Once all of your blocks are made, you're going to lay them out in a 6x7 block layout while rotating each block 90 degrees. Then as always, you will sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly, sew your rows together to complete your quilt top. Here is what my shipping links quilt pattern looks like all finished. For the backing, I am using a grunge print that is closely matching this collection. Then for the thread choice, I'm going with glide threads in the color Anchor. And here is what my quilt looks like all quilted. One layer cake will yield you a 48-inch by 56-inch quilt. If you use two layer cake bundles and instead make a total of 80 quilt blocks and place them in a 8x10 block layout, you will yield a nice twin size quilt measuring at 64 inches by 80 inches, just to give you a few more options. But if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.